The heart, what is it and how does it work? I am Mr. Wilson. Stay with me as we take the journey through this muscular organ. This lesson is suitable for all students sitting biology, integrated science, and human and social biology CSEC examinations. Individuals having interest in the heart may also watch this video. The circulatory system is made up of three parts: the heart, which pumps the blood which transport material to be transported, and the blood vessels, which operates like pipeline, carrying the needed substances to the places they need to go. Multicellular organisms need a developed circulatory system, and this is due to their small surface area to volume ratio. What is the heart? Have you ever thought about it? The heart is a muscular pump. It pumps blood around the body. It is made from what we call the cardiac muscle. It has 4 chambers and 2 sides. Very important to note. The heart is a double pump through which blood passes twice on its way around the body. This gives rise to the systemic circulation and pulmonary circulation. However, the heart, like all organs of the body, must be supplied with nutrient and oxygen, and waste must be removed. Now, this is taken care of by what we refer to as the coronary circulation, and we are looking at the heart from the outside. Now, what we have here is the coronary artery and the coronary vein. Now, the coronary artery would be supplying the heart with needed substance for it to function properly, while the coronary vein would be removing unwanted substances from the heart so it can function effectively. How does the blood travel through the heart? Now, it's very important that you understand all the blood vessels. You want to keep watching the flow of the blood in the heart. As we go through the lesson, you'll be able at the end of the lesson to say what is actually happening. So there we have oxygenated blood in red traveling through the left side of the heart, and we have deoxygenated blood in blue traveling through the right side of the heart. Please follow the video so you will better understand. Can you identify the sides of the heart? Now, this is the left side. It is to your right when you're looking at it, and of course the other side is going to be the right side. Now, it's important to note, while you're looking at the heart, it is as if you're looking at a patient lying on his or her back. And this is why we would have the left of the heart being your right and the right of the heart being your left. Please ensure that when you are supposed to label the heart, the first thing you want to do is to write a R above the heart to indicate the right side, and the L above the heart to indicate the left side. This is very important if you're going to be able to identify the side of the heart that carries oxygenated blood and the side of the heart that carries deoxygenated blood. It's also going to be important for you to identify what chamber of the heart would have the thickest muscle. So it's very, very important that you understand the left side of the heart than the right side of the heart. It is also going to be very important if you're going to be identifying the bicuspid valve and the tricuspid valve. So please pay attention as we go through this lesson. Now, which side of the heart carries oxygenated blood? Now, oxygenated blood, of course, is carried on the left side of the heart. Of course, the oxygenated blood is coming from the lungs, and it enters the left side of the heart through what we refer to as the pulmonary vein. It's very important to know that the pulmonary vein is the only vein that is carrying oxygenated blood, and you'd see the red dots flowing through the heart. They represent the blood, and it's actually oxygenated blood that is flowing through the left side of the heart. On the right side of the heart, however, we have deoxygenated blood that is on its way from the body to the lungs. It is represented with blue dots. You'll see these blue dots flowing through the heart, and that's for the deoxygenated blood. And you see this blue area here signifying that the right side of the heart carries deoxygenated blood, and this blood is on its way to the lungs for gaseous exchange. Now, the diagram of a heart, there are many, and I took some time to put at least 3 diagrams in this video. These are diagrams that you might see for your exam, so please ensure that you're able to label the diagrams before you get to the exams. I have also done the animation that you can see the blood as it passes through the heart, and you have a better appreciation as to where it is going. All right, so ensure that you follow this diagram to be able to label the heart. Now look at this view, and of course take a look again as the red dots, which signifies or which represents the oxygenated blood as they flow through the heart, and the blue dots, they represent the deoxygenated blood, and they too are flowing nicely through the heart. All right, please pay attention to the flow of blood. Remember the flow direction. In your exams you will see diagrams with arrows. Now these arrows are very, very important, as the arrows represent flow direction. So you want to be sure that you understand the flow direction so you can get the blood vessels correct. You really don't want to mix these blood vessels up with anything else. Usually the aorta is something like this. It has this curve when it's represented, and usually there is this blood vessel at the top of these 3 blood vessels at the top of the aorta here, and of course you'd know that this is the pulmonary artery, right, because it's coming from the right side of the heart. You want to ensure that you understand the blood vessel, as you can make a link to the different side of the heart, because if I were supposed to cut this heart down the septum, down the middle here, down the septum, and I were supposed to say that this is the right side of the heart, would you be able to label the tricuspid valve? Would you be able to label the semilunar valve? Would you be able to label the ventricle, the atrium? So it's very important that you have a good knowledge, a good understanding of a labeling and the description of the heart. You must be able to describe the heart, which means that you are going to label and annotate for your exams. Please ensure that you can label and annotate. Now, can you identify the 4 chambers of the heart? Now, when we started out, we said that a heart, of course, is divided into 2 sides. And we have the left side and the right side. Over here, of course, is the left, and over here is the right. Now, the heart is divided down the middle right here by a muscular sheath we call the septum. And this septum prevents the blood on the right side over here from mixing with the blood on the left side. So the 2 sides is down the middle here. However, we have, of course, 4 chambers, which we have to the top, the atrium. To the top, we have the atrium, and to the bottom, we have the ventricle. However, we can't just label the heart by saying ventricle and atrium. We must indicate the side. That is very, very important. So we have the left atrium here, and the left atrium is collecting blood from the lungs. And this blood, of course, is rich in oxygen. So the left atrium is collecting blood that is rich in oxygen, and this blood is coming from the lungs. Then we have the left ventricle, which is the lower part of the heart, and it pumps blood via the aorta to the entire body. So that's the blood vessel taking the oxygenated blood from the heart to the rest of the body. It's called the aorta, and it's at the top here where the oxygenated blood is leaving. These red dots, of course, remember, they represent oxygenated blood. Now when we move on to the right side of the heart, we have the right ventricle at the bottom, and it pumps deoxygenated blood via the pulmonary artery to the lungs. It's very important for you to know that the pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood. Remember, the pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood, which means that the pulmonary vein is going to be the only vein that carries oxygenated blood. Follow me here. Now at the top we have the right atrium, which collects deoxygenated blood from the vena cava, and it is of course on its way from the body, and this deoxygenated blood is en route to the lungs for gaseous exchange. Be reminded that the vena cava, it would have two sides. It has what we refer to as the anterior, which takes blood from the head, and of course the posterior, which is taking blood from the rest of the body. So the anterior would have been at the top and the posterior at the bottom. Anterior here, posterior here. I want you to remember that at all time you should be able to label the left side versus the right side, the atrium versus the ventricle, the left atrium versus the left ventricle, the right atrium versus the left atrium. Please ensure that you're able to do that for your exam. Now here you're seeing a bit of annotation. So the labeled portion would have been the black area here, and the annotation would have been the white writing. You must be able to label and annotate for your exams. Now, can you identify the blood vessels? We've been talking about the blood vessels. Let's look at the blood vessels. Now, at the top here, linked to the left side of the heart, is the aorta. And remember, we said that the aorta transports oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Specific, it's connected to the left ventricle. And below the aorta would have the pulmonary vein. Now the pulmonary vein is carrying oxygenated blood from the lungs to the atrium. The left atrium, remember we always attach the left and the right, so it's a left atrium. And then we have the other blood vessel, the vena cava, and we just spoke about the vena cava having two sides. We spoke about the anterior and the posterior, the top and the bottom respectively. Now the vena cava is carrying deoxygenated blood from the body, which of course again is en route to the lungs for gaseous exchange. Pulmonary artery. Now the pulmonary artery, we said it before, it's the only artery that's carrying deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and this deoxygenated blood is coming from the heart. Always remember that to the right side of the heart we have the pulmonary artery attached. To the right side of the heart we have the vena cava attached. To the left side of the heart we have the pulmonary veins attached, and we have the aorta attached. Now we have broken down the labeling so that you can see them very, very simple. Just 4 blood vessels here to identify the aorta, the pulmonary vein, the vena cava, and the pulmonary artery. Please make use of the strategy we have employed in this video. Can you identify the valves? Again, this is another strategy. We're looking at 4 valves in the heart, so you must be able to count, oh, I'm supposed to label 4 valves, I'm supposed to label 4 blood vessels. That type of thing you should be able to do. Remember, the numbers will help when you are doing your labeling. Now to the top you'll observe that we have the semilunar valves, and we're going to be looking at the left side of the heart first. Now the semilunar valve, like all of the valves, they prevent the backflow of blood. So the semilunar valve on the left side of the heart prevents the backflow of blood into the ventricle, and of course this blood is en route to the aorta. So the semilunar valve would prevent the blood from flowing backward. Then we have the bicuspid valve, and the bicuspid valve is associated with the left side of the heart, and it prevents the backflow of blood like all other valves. Now it's very important to know that it gets the bicuspid from the tendon that is attached. It's actually 2 tendons attached to the bicuspid valve. Then we move on over to the right side of the heart. Be reminded that the right side of the heart is associated with the tricuspid valve. And like all valves we have been saying, it prevents the backflow of blood. And the tri there is pretty much in relation to the tendon attachment. Now, just above the tricuspid valve that falls between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery, we have another semilunar valve, and this semilunar valve prevents the backflow of blood from the pulmonary artery into the right ventricle. Please ensure that you are taking notes. Look at the annotation, look at the label. We have pulled apart the heart, and we have identified blood vessels, valves, chambers, side, so that you can easily understand and be able to put it together for your examination. Now, can you identify the tendons? This is another of the new work we have done. Now, the tendons, what they do, they support the valve. They prevent the valves from turning inside out. What does that mean? Have you ever taken off your socks and it's turned inside out? No, we really don't want that to happen. If that happens, it's definitely going to be putting some pressure on the heart, and as an individual you should be feeling some amount of chest pain. So the tendons, they are very, very important to hold the valves in place and preventing the valves from turning inside out. You want to be certain that you can identify the areas where we have the tendon. All right, now, why the blood in the right side of a heart does not mix with the left side? This is a very nice question. Now, it is very easy, one would say. My friend from Guyana used to say this is very easy, and I like to hear when students say that. It suggests that they are studying. Now, the right side of a heart is not really connected in a way that the blood can mix. And why this is so? Because we have a muscular sheet called the septum in the middle of the heart here. This red portion of the heart, if you're looking at the screen, it's called the septum, and it divides the heart in two, left and right side. Hence, the oxygenated blood from the left side of the heart does not mix with the deoxygenated blood from the right side of the heart. This is very, very important, because remember, we have to remove waste from the body. So if we have carbon dioxide, blood rich in carbon dioxide being mixed with blood rich in oxygen, then we're going to be having some problem, and the blood would actually become acidic as the carbon dioxide increases in the blood. So we really don't want that to happen. It is going to cause real serious issues. You don't want the blood to mix any at all there. All right, let's move on. Why is the wall of the left ventricle thicker than the walls of the other chamber? Now, the left ventricle, ensure that you can identify the left side of the heart. So you'll observe that it's much thicker here. Now, the walls of the left ventricle is thicker as it pumps blood around the entire body. And I think you can understand that the person who is lifting weight, they tend to be a little thicker, a little chubbier, so to speak. The muscles are even better toned because they are doing more work. So this side of the heart is doing way more work, so you'd understand that the walls are going to be thicker. All right, that's the easiest way to remember it. So always remember that the left side, the left ventricle, has thicker walls than all the other chambers, to include the right ventricle, because it is pumping blood around the entire body. Now, what is the heart made of? Wonderful question. The heart is made of what we refer to as cardiac muscle, and these are specialized muscles that have been working before you were born. They contract, they relax in order to move blood around the body. It's very important that they continue to work. So the cardiac muscle is a very specialized muscle. The heart is made of cardiac muscle, and this enables the heart to carry out its special function of pumping blood around the body. Why does the blood passes through the heart twice? Now, this is very, very wonderful. You will remember that we said at start that the heart is a double pump. Now, the blood loses pressure as it travels around the body. Hence, as it returns to the heart, it regains pressure. So it's coming through the heart a second time to pick up pressure to go around. Always remember that the blood in the arteries is actually in high pressure. However, as we get into the vein, the blood is actually going into low pressure. So we want to ensure that this blood is going through the heart twice in order to maintain that pressure. This part of the content is very, very important for those persons who are doing human and social biology. The syllabus wants us to look at the pacemaker and the artificial pacemaker. So here we are asking the question, what is the role of a pacemaker in the heart? Now, the pacemaker is a group of specialized cells found on the top of a right atrium. It produces impulses that causes the heart to contract several times per minute. Hence, it is fair to say that it is because of a pacemaker the heart continues to beat and continue to pump blood around the body. What is the role of an artificial pacemaker in the heart? Now, the pacemaker is used to regulate the beat of the heart. If it becomes defective, and of course an artificial pacemaker can be implanted, and it is usually implanted under the skin and connected to the heart by tiny wires. Now, why would we need a artificial pacemaker? It suggests that something is wrong with the heart. Now, if the heartbeat is slow, and not just regular slow, but irregular slow, if a heartbeat is slow and there's irregular beat, or if a person suffers from what is called a heart attack, then there will be need for a pacemaker. Now, the pacemaker, simply put, it is a small battery operated device that generates electrical impulses to, of course, regulate the beat of the heart. Now, if the heart is not functioning good, you're going to be having some challenges. You're going to be having pain, you're going to be tired, you're going to be sleepy, and it could go as far as you start having lesions or sores on the skin. Now, you want to ensure that that heart is working well, because if the heart is not working well, it is like if I were supposed to lighten it. If the garbage truck doesn't come when it is supposed to come to pick up your garbage, then you understand you're going to have a buildup of garbage at home, and then there will be flies and rodents and all sort of stuff. Now, if a heart is not pumping the blood as fast as it should, so too you will have a buildup of waste in the blood, and this is definitely going to cause some challenges for you. Now, we are pretty much at the end of this presentation. Wow, it went through like bap, like that. How much can you remember? Do you remember anything about the size of the heart? Do you remember anything about the chambers? Do you remember anything about the blood vessels we made mention of? What about the valves? Do you remember the type of blood we made mention of? Do you remember about what separates the sides of a heart? Now it is your turn. You're going to be labeling the heart from what you can recall. If you can't remember what we covered in the lesson, please do not cheat. Watch the lesson a second time, however many times you so desire, and get yourself to that comfortable place where you are able to describe the heart. It means that you are going to say a little bit about what the heart is. You are going to be able to label and annotate the heart. As it were, for HSB, Human and Social Biology, it is expected that you will understand the structural makeup of the heart and how it suits the function of the heart. For biology students, you are supposed to be able to describe the heart and, of course, tell about its function. Now, we spoke also about the cardiac muscle. We spoke about thickness of wall. We spoke about pathway of blood. We spoke about pacemaker. We spoke about reason for the double pump. All these are things that you want to recall. If you can't remember them, remember you can watch a video however many times you so desire and get yourself to a point where you are comfortable to answer the questions on your exams. Now, it's very important that you are able to label and annotate the heart. Now, I have left to the end of this video 3 different diagrams of a heart. I want you to be able to label all 3 different diagrams, and you must be able to get to that position where you can just label it from the tip of your memory. You want to be able to draw the heart as well, so you want to practice something there. Most of the persons who are doing biology, you should be able to draw the heart. So remember, I wanted to label the 3 views that I have left here with the heart. Now there we go, that's one of the diagram. That's another of a diagram, and this is actually the external view of the heart. Good. Now I want you to continue to help me to grow, continue to help me to produce these videos that I'm always able to help you and those to come. To do that, you are going to need to subscribe. You're going to need to share the content with somebody, share the link, and have those you know who are setting the subject subscribe. Remember, when you subscribe, you're expected to click the notification bell so that you'll be informed as soon as we have a new publication out. Please also be reminded to join us for our Friday Bio HSB Live and our Sunday Bio HSB Live. It is on a Sunday and a Friday at 5 p.m. This and every Friday and Sunday. Please remember to bring a friend with you. I want to say thank you to those persons from Guyana who showed up for the live on Friday, those persons from Trinidad who are waiting to see you online, and of course we must say a big thank you to all those Jamaicans who continue to support CSEC Biology, the cover page with Mr. Wilson. Thanks for watching.